So I will start my lesson with this quote. Our lessons come from the journey, not the destination. So this means that we learn more with the journey. We gather experiences, we fail, we make mistakes, we become stronger because of these mistakes, because we learn from them. We become wiser and more capable of and more fitted to assume a higher level of responsibility in the next chapter of our life. So that's why it is important that we value the process much more than the result or the destination, because the destination is just the consequence or the outcome or the result of the journey. And take note, in the journey, this is important because it is the time or the period of our life where we make decisions, we make actions, and we learn from every step we make. So same with the teaching or in our instruction, we need to value the teaching process. And if you want to improve the learning process, we need to improve the teaching process. So learning is the outcome of teaching. So this means that if you want to improve the learning of the students, you also need to improve the teaching process. So learning process is very dependent on the teaching process or the way we deliver the lesson or the experiences we give to our students. Okay? So with this idea, we will need to focus on how to improve our teaching process, or how will we design our instruction. So designing our instruction is very important and vital in the learning development of our students. Okay, so how to improve the instructional design or the teaching process we have. So today, we will discuss the systematic approach to teaching. By the way, makita ra ko ang screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Makita ra niyo yung systematic approach to teaching?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sige. Thank you so much. So, systematic approach to teaching, this means that we have an appropriate and procedural and progressive way of teaching. So natay gi-follow nga step-by-step process. We cannot have a random way of teaching. Kanang rock and roll nga pamaagi, nga bahala na. So okay ra na siya, pero we cannot expect nga imo pong outcome kung tibulaag imuhang pagklase, tibulaag pod na ang learning sa estudyante. That's why we need to carefully plan our instruction. Same with building a house, di ba? Di man pwede nga we will construct the house, then ulahin na ang plan. Mag-una yun na ang plan or ang design before implementation. Kaya di man pwede, pag human sa balay, daghan day kayo kuan kanang bati. Kuan na ka, lisod na kayo, dako na kayo kag gasto niya, daghan day kay tong bati or sayop pagka-construct. That's why careful planning is very important to maximize the learning of the students, to save time, to save energy, and we become more organized and systematic in implementing our instruction. So, is there a procedure that we need to follow? Yes, there is. We call this one systematic approach to teaching or systematized instruction. So when we say systematized instruction, this is an instructional design wherein we follow certain procedure. So the very first thing we need to consider is the learner. So since we are already in the 21st century, we will need to consider the learner as the centermost or the focus of our instruction. Okay, we will need to first understand and identify the student's strength. For example, do they already have the skill in addition before proceeding to multiplication? So you will need to check if the students already gain the prerequisite skills before proceeding to a more advanced skill. You also need to consider the students' weaknesses. That's why you will do diagnostic assessment. This is to check um, in what area of learning students have difficulty, or in what area of learning needs to be improved. You also need to assess the students' abilities, personalities, character, the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. And from this, you will construct the objective. So tanaw ni mo nga, since you are the teacher, kay bao ka unsay dapat nimong itudlo sa estudyante. So for example, they already acquired the skill in addition. So therefore, it's time for you to proceed to another skill like multiplication. Okay? Then, kung wa pa niya master ang addition, so therefore, napaka-reinforcement and review nga dapat nimong buhaton before ka move sa multiplication, because multiplication requires the concept of addition. Then, if humana na sila sa multiplication, na-master na nilang multiplication, you will then introduce the skill in division. So division is the reverse process of multiplication. So dapat ana ta munang mag-check ta sa atong comprehension sa atong mga students. Then we define our learning outcomes, targets, or objectives. After defining the objectives, we will choose appropriate teaching method. Methods that are appropriate to the learner. So again, not a double arrow. Ani. So that means this implies na ang objectives appropriate sa learners. Next, choose appropriate methods. So double arrow gihapon, that means we will need to choose methods that are appropriate to the level of ability to the students. After choosing the teaching methods, we will choose the appropriate learning experiences. Okay. Next, we will choose or select materials and technologies appropriate to the learners. Finally, assign personnel roles. So if you want to invite expert speaker, like a doctor, to talk about a certain how to keep your body healthy, or fitness coach, or firefighter to discuss about fire drills. Okay, or katong gibuhat last time niya, we source out, we use a video from katong sa ICT, cybercrime and cybersecurity. You may also ask a student like have experience going to Ocean Park, to Safari, to other place, who can share his or her experience. Then, before you implement the instruction. So, As you can see, we have 5 big steps to consider to prepare before implementing the instruction. So take note, preparation is a big factor to success. Okay? So usually we will use much time in preparing as compared to implementing. So for example, creating a video, di ba? When you create a video or when you create a project, you use much time or more time in preparing the video or the project as compared to presenting the entire output. So for example, himo ka video. So as you make the video, pila man na ka-hours nimo himuon ang video. Mag-edit pa ka, mag-add pa kag animation, visual effects, mukabat nag let's say 8 hours. Nya ang video nga ni-present nimo, it will take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, di ba? So mas taas kag time sa pag-prepare kaysa sa pag-execute. Also in presenting, let's say kung mag-present ta og sayaw, di ba? Pila man ka hours mag-practice as compared nga inig actual na mga 5 minutes ra nga presentation. So same with teaching, we will need to use more time in preparing our lesson or in designing our instruction. Then if we think that it is ready, then we will implement the instruction as planned. So muna giingon, plan your work. So muna siya gitawag, plan your work, then work your plan. Okay? So we also need to consider that why is preparation important? Preparation is important because it serves as our direction. So if we didn't prepare our lesson, it will be aimless, meaning magkatibulaag. And if we will not implement our instruction, it will be useless. Mabitaw nang we are given the gift of intellect and wisdom. Kay nga naman, gift of knowledge, intellect, wisdom, because so that we can think first. Then, sa atong yun muna siya atong i-put into action. We put it into practice. So, kung kanang nasimungaw na una, significant na siya para mas useful siya, imo siyang i-put into practice. Okay. So, you put now the preparation into implementation. Okay. So once you implement the instruction, after you implement the instruction, you evaluate the outcomes. That's why you conduct an assessment to see if the students attain the objectives. Okay. So however, evaluating or assessing students' learning does not only come after the instruction. There are assessments that can be done during the instruction. We call that one as formative assessment. So for example, mga pre-test, diagnostic test, mga oral exam. Okay, that is checking students' comprehension at the time they are forming their learning. Mong gitawag siya formative assessment from the word form. It is an assessment used to support and form the learning development. Okay. Ang kanang summative assessment, muna na siya final nga assessment. Katong assessment, katong formative assessment, support ra to siya. It is assessment in support to learning. Kaning evaluate, kaning gigamit na tong assessment diri. This is an assessment to assess the overall mastery of the students with respect to the objectives. So next, After evaluating the outcomes, whatever result in the outcomes, makita nimo they are performing well. Therefore, your instruction is effective. So, if you think nga dagko ang score sa mga estudyante, malipay ta. And that means, ang ato ang gipang plano diri, worth it. Okay, worth it and effective niya. If you think nga naa pa yung mga estudyante nga dili ka mao, or daghan ang wala naka-answer, so that is a reflection sad that your design, your instructional design is not effective. And dili ta mag-uula na kay there are one tay gitawag nga we charge everything to experience, and we consider that there are still room for improvement. We need to embrace mistakes, we need to embrace failure and use them as lessons so that we can refine the entire process. So ang katong mga bati nga part or mga failures na to ato tong gamiton to refine the process. Okay? So we will have a more detailed explanation sa kaning part. So there are, in the systematized instruction, there are first, define the objectives. Second, choose appropriate methods. Third, choose appropriate learning experiences. Fourth, choose materials and technologies. Fifth, assign roles. Sixth, implement the instruction. Seventh, evaluate the outcomes. And eighth, refine the process. So muna ang ato ang cycle sa systematized instruction. So when we teach and when we make the lesson plan, this is how we will design our instruction. So let us discuss this part, defining the objectives. So how do we define the objectives? See, the objectives, or we call that one our aim or our learning outcome. So, or our target. Okay, so we need to have a target because this serves as our direction and our map, our guide in our instruction. And there are characteristics in formulating the learning outcomes or objectives. These are SMART. So when we say SMART, specific, M, measurable, A, attainable, R, realistic or relevant, T, time-bounded or time-based. So when we say specific, specific in terms of the goal, what do you want to achieve? So mangutana ka, nganong sige like sa ako ang post, sige lagi kag-react. Okay, heart sa ako ang my day. Tarong ako nakubi, unsa man jud imuhang tuyo. So ganahan ka specific. Sige gan tagkuyog og simba. Nga magdugay man tagtug tagagabi. Sige pud ka good morning nako, di ba? So makapangutan na jud ka. Specify yun no ni imuhang tumong. Unsam jud imong tumong. So para mas maklaro tanan. So when the objectives are specific, the objectives become clear. Next, objectives or learning outcomes should be measurable. Okay, so how do you measure your learning? So that means the learning should be reflected through observable behavior. Okay, it can be assessed using a quiz or oral examination or project or through an exam. Attainable, that means that is achievable or attainable. The goals must be assignable to individuals or groups. So that means a specific task or skill or objective can be attained by by your students. So for example, grade 6, dili pa nimo siya i-introducean og trigonometry. Okay, kaya nga naman, dili pa man nila makaya sa ilahang utok. So that means you will assign topics that are attainable by the students, makaya ra nila. Next, we need the objectives or learning outcomes should be relevant or realistic. So that means it is very important to the students, and it is something that they can use at their level. So for example, addition. Why do we teach addition on that level? Because they are capable of adding things. Kaya ba naman sila mo acquire of kana nga idea of adding. Nakasabot na sila sa 1 plus 1, 2. They can count animals, they can count trees, many things. So you are giving them a skill or knowledge that they can use and apply into their level. So realistic goals are challenging yet attainable within the given time frame. Okay. Next. So for example, balik sa taning realistics, natay topic niya, let's say different animals, different land animals. So understanding it in the sa mga estudyante nga bata pa, mohatag sa kag mga examples na kaya pa nilang masabtan. Okay? And realistic. Next is time-based or time-bounded. So, dili pwede nga kanang we will use more time sa atuang objectives. Everything should be, every topic should have allotment, time allotment. Budgeton dun na nato ang oras because we don't have luxury of time. Ato ang oras kay limited. In a specific period, let's say first grading, na siya yung mga topics nga dapat i-cover. So dapat kita as teacher kay baluta mo budget sa oras. Okay, mag-allocate sa mga oras per topic. That's why we will need to plan our lesson well. We need to design our instruction well so that we can save time. Okay. So these are the characteristics and guidelines in defining the objectives. Defining the objectives, take note, is the first step in systematized instruction. So the second step is, by the way, in defining the objectives, objectives should be varied from cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So in Bloom's taxonomy, there are 6 levels of learning. So the first level is the foundation of all learning. So kinahanglan, this is na siya bottom sa pyramid. Why? Because this is the most fundamental and basic concept, knowledge, and skill. So diri mo ni ang ato ang foundation. Nganong importante man yung foundation? Nganong dako manig area sa pyramid? Because this is the beginning, the basic, the essential, vital, and ng pinakauna prime sa tanang klase nga learning. So just like sa balay, ang foundation, importante, haligi. Ay nga naman, kay kung bagyuhon, sa may pasabot aning bagyuhon, kung ang balay bagyuhon, kung weak iyang foundation, dali dyan na maguba. Pero kung strong ang foundation, bisag unsa pang bagyo ang maabot, di gyud na siya matandog. That's why we focus more on remembering. But dili ta pwede remembering ra kutob kay dili ra na ang skill sa estudyante. Dapat from remembering munay hinay sa tagsaka sa understanding. So mabitaw tong kung inikita na to ila-ila sa okay mag-ila-ila. What is your name? Can I have your number? But di naman number messenger naman. Understand. So that means subtun. Okay. So remember, nakaila, understand na nakasabot. So understanding is deeper or higher than remembering. Okay. Nakaila pero wa nakasabot. So unay source sa away dayon. Kaila man ka nako pero wa ko nimo nasabtan. Away-away dayon. So just like in our class, so for example, teaching science, the topic, the body parts, the human body parts. So that means, first, we will identify the body parts. Next, understand the body parts. Okay, use the body parts. So for example, this is your eyes. These are your eyes. This is your nose, ears, and mouth. Then understand meaning, you know the function of each part, what it is for. Applying, it means you able to use the body parts. So you use your hand to touch, to move. You use your eyes to see. You use your nose to smell. You use the different body parts. Next, analyzing. So this is higher than remembering, understanding, applying. Here, you draw connections among ideas. Okay, so you will use, so for example, in playing, you will use your eyes and your hands, but in cooking, you will use your eyes, your smell, your taste, your hands. You use everything and you make an analysis. So analyzing also means breaking down a big part, a big idea into smaller idea. Okay, so for example, ay munay ni ang para mas makasabot ko sa akong lawas, akong i-understand ang each part sa akong lawas. Next, evaluating. Okay, that means making, justifying a stand or decision. So for example, you appraise, you evaluate the value of each part. Mayroon din kag asa may mas importante nga part sa imong body, imong heart or ang imong mind or imong brain. Diba? So, sa kana nga part, you justify, you make justification sa imuhang decision. Okay. Mo nang uban, mas importante ang heart kay mo na siya naghatag na tug kinabuhi. Na ding uban, maski importante ang brain or ang mind kay mo na siya maghatag na tug meaning sa atong kinabuhi. Next, create. Okay, so this is the last one. This is the final stage of Bloom's taxonomy of learning, or the highest level. Here, based on your skill in remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, and evaluating, you produce new or original work. So example, aniniya, hanang creating an essay, making your own, conducting your own research, that is an example, higher level na siya. Creating your own video. Okay, that is an example of creating. So, another domain in learning is affective domain. So, first, affective domain pertains to emotional, social, and personality development. So, dili man pwede nga cognitive domain, or from the word cognition or mental. So, ang kaning cognitive domain develops the mental aspects of, or intellectual aspect of the child. kaning affective domain, this will develop the social, emotional, and personality of the students. So dili man pwede nga mind ra nga to ang i-develop sa estudyante. We are only developing one part of the students. So dili na pwede. So suma good. Okay. Nganong di man ta kalimot sa usa ka tawo. Dinong di man ta kalimot sa atong mga gihigugma. Di ba? Dili man na tungod kay nakaila ta niya, dili kay tungod kay nakasabot ta niya, but tungod sa ato ang feelings para niya. Okay, lisod kay let go ba? For example, mga sentimental value, di ba? Dili yun nimo ilabay ang buwak, balag nangalata, nangalaya na. No, dili yun nimo ilabay ang picture. Okay. Okay, or bracelet nga gihatag niya. Dili tungod kay sa memories, but because you have emotions attached to that object. Emotional man ang tao. So that means educating the heart is as important as educating the mind. Okay? So importante ning duha. So how to develop the affective domain? First, start with receiving, the skill in receiving. That means we need to develop the student skill in giving attention. So maminaw. Okay, maminaw. Or receive. So receiving meaning it could have, you can use any senses, sense of touch, hearing, taste, seeing. So receive, any way of receiving or perceiving. Second, responding. So once you receive information, you respond. So na may uban ani diri ra kutob sa receive, di ba? Anong for example, makakitag basura, kay bawo siyang basura na. Pero wala ni respond. So that is a thing nga kinahanglan natong i-develop sa ato pong estudyante, labi na pod sa toang self. Kita ka nga nagubot ang lamisa, nay mga munggo, nay hugasan, hugaw kayo sa gawas, kita kag dapat limpyuhan na silhiganan ang balay, naka-receive ka ana nga idea. Next is to respond. Okay. After, that means to respond, imuhang limpyuhan, hugasan, okay? Third, valuing. The students display definite involvement or commitment towards some experience. So if you feel that your response to a particular situation is important, then you value it. Imuha na siya, i-value. Okay, then, taga kita ni mog na basura, ni hugasan, dili na ka kinahanglan suguon. Okay, self-driven na ka ba, ni mature na ka, ni start na kag involved sa imong self, niya naghatag na kag commitment. Organization. The student has integrated a new value into his or her general set of values and give it a proper place in priority system. This is also important as teachers. So for example, nabitaw tayo ka ng classroom nga mga, let's say, classroom chores or household chores or classroom responsibilities. We are trained in school. Kana ganing manglimpyo ta. Okay. Manlimpyuhon na to mga estudyante or palimpyuhon mo sa maestra. Dili ra man good about ang classroom. Dili ra na about lessons nga gikan kinahanglan sa libro. More importantly, lessons nga itong ma-acquire po as we grow old. So for example, organizing things, maintaining cleanliness, having a good learning environment. So kung palimpyuhan kita sa teacher, pasabutan na kanang dili na siya sugo lang para malimpyo, but for you to develop and inculcate that value, the value of cleanliness and organizing things. So, i-part siya sa imuhang training. Okay, we are not talking about acquiring only lessons from the book, but also lessons in life. Kaning mga simple na mga sugo sa mga teachers, atong mga sugo sa mga estudyante, dili ra na about sa kanang sugo. It's about developing a character or personality. Fifth, characterization by value, meaning you na part na sa imuhang character or personality. So kung maingig sugon ka sa maestra nga malimpyo, the teacher is teaching you the idea of the importance of cleanliness. If the teacher wants you to help your classmates collaborate, the teacher wants you to learn to be sociable and helpful. Okay, so that's why we will create objectives not only in the cognitive domain but also in affective domain. Again, educating the heart is as important as educating the mind. So dili lang another domain of learning is the psychomotor domain. So we will not only develop the mind, the heart of the students, but also the body. Psychomotor domain from the word psyche or psyche, mind. Motor, that means body. So when we say psychomotor, mind and body coordination or mind and body domain. So what's in your mind and will give instructions to your body. So how to develop this domain? First, imitation. Students copy the action of the another. So for example, mo bitaw na mga bata mo follow sa mga gipangbuhat sa mga ginikanan. So if ang parents limpyado, ang mga anak pod limpyado, kay kung unsay ilang makita sa ilang parents mo pod ang ilahang i-adapt. So if ang parents kanang manggihatagon pod ang anak. If ang parents sigig kasuko, so ang kuan pod ang anak sigig kasuko. So ato nang kung kita ganahan ta atong mga children pohon nga mo develop og nindot nga mga batasan, we need to be a good example because they will learn from us. Next, manipulation. So here, students reproduce activity from instruction or memory. So kani, kung an sila ilang i-imitate, ilahan na pod nang i-manipulate. So that means, ing ani manggod to si mama, so therefore, musa ni akong buhaton. So based on the skill or memory. So for example, nakaton kag panglimpyo sa balay, makaton sa kag panglimpyo sa room. Okay, limpyado ka sa balay, limpyado sad ka sa room. Imuha nang madala, imuhang batasan. Precision. Okay, execute skill reliably, independently. So for example, sa PE, di ba? In PE, the teacher will demonstrate a particular skill or dance move. You will imitate the dance move. Next, manipulate. You will execute the dance move even if wala na ang teacher. Imuha nang gimaster ba? Gimaster. Next, precision. Okay. So here you are improving sa manipulation. Next, precision. Exact na kayo, precise na kayo, correct na ang imong execution sa kana nga skill. So next, articulation, adopt expertise to fulfill non-standard objectives. So na kay mag-combine na kag dance move. Kay na kay imuhang kaugalingong style sa pagsayaw. Next, naturalization. So here, you create your own style na of dancing. So that is the first part of systematized instruction. Again, in defining the objectives, it needs to be SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bounded, and teachers should construct learning outcomes from cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. The second part of systematized instruction is choosing the most appropriate method. So there are 5 methods I can share to you this morning. There are many methods in instruction or design in instructional design, but I can share to you 5 for this moment. So we have the direct instruction, indirect instruction, independent study, interactive instruction, and experiential learning. So what is direct instruction? By the way, each instructional design will have different learning experience. So we will discuss the instructional design and its learning experience. So for example, in direct instruction, we will use by using direct instruction, the teacher provides students with clear explanations and opportunities for guided practice with feedback. Best ang example ani kay what we do today. Okay, because the source of information is the teacher. Okay, and if there are questions, ato nang i-entertain, and for example, na mga mag-teach si teacher of math topic, then the teacher will provide practice problems. Then the teacher will guide the students and give feedbacks to the students' performance. So that is direct instruction because the source of knowledge is the teacher. So this is the traditional way of teaching. The advantage of this is that you can save time. However, the disadvantage, the students become passive learners. They will just receive and become dependent to the teacher. That's why we will use para dili na fully dependent si student kanang mag-spoon feeding nga dili na kay baw mamaratol kung wala si teacher. That's why we will use another method. Anado na to ang estudyante nga dili magsalig ni teacher. That's why natay indirect instruction. Indirect is the opposite of direct because in direct instruction, teacher is the center of the instruction. Siya may source of information. Kani indirect instruction, si teacher dili ang source of instruction. Students can source out knowledge or information from the video, from other resources like books, internet, experiences. Okay, nga ang role ni teacher ani dili na siya source of information but facilitator of learning. So what are learning experiences nga naa ani? For example, problem solving, case study, inquiry, reading for meaning, reflective discussion, concept formation, concept mapping, concept attainment, close procedure. So kani, the very good thing ani niya is that students become self-driven. They take ownership of their learning. They guide and direct themselves. Okay? So, ang disadvantage is that madugay ang estudyante labi na walay video or walay books. Nya, mo take siya taas nga time. Another one is interactive instruction. So since our students are social beings, they will learn more when they learn with their peers. So natay gitawag na I do, maning you watch, you listen, you learn. Muni ang indirect instruction, kaning I do. I perform, you watch, you listen, you learn. Kaning we do, muna siya ang interactive instruction. We do together. Meaning, your classmates, your peers become your learning partner, your partners in learning. Next, you do with a group, with a partner. So by the way, I do, so kaniday siya mo direct. Okay, direct instruction. Okay, I do mo ni si teacher. I do, I perform, I teach. Nga mga estudyante, you watch, you listen, you learn. Kaning we do together, kani facilitating na ni siya. Facilitating learning. Ani, you do with the partner, you do with the group, muna ni ang interactive instruction. You achieve a certain goal with your peers. Next, you do independent. Ikaw na lang, mag-inusara. Independent, ticket out the door. So, if kaya na mo, then you can do it independently. Mga mo kanta na kag, I want to break free. So, what are the learning experiences that we can give in this interactive instruction? You can use debates. So take note, according to social constructivism theory, we learn more when we discuss things with other people. That's why we do debates. Okay, we have panel discussion, panel interview, meeting, role-playing, brainstorming, tutorial groups, peer practice, discussion, laboratory groups, cooperative learning, problem-solving, circle of knowledge, and interviewing. Okay, because we believe that when you do things with your group, with someone, you go even farther. Okay, so naman tayo giingon nga, if you want to go faster, you do it alone. If you want to go farther, mas layo pa dyan yung padulngan, you do it with others. The last one is, I think this is the fourth one, experiential learning. From the word experience, we learn by experience, we learn by doing. We use our senses to construct learning. So, we use concrete or hands-on experiences to form learning. So, unsa man yung mga learning experiences nga under experiential learning, we have field trips, conducting experiments, simulations, games, focused imaging, field observation, role-playing, cymatics, model building, and surveys. This is really good because it can give you rich learning and information. That's why, aside sa hatag na to og mga pictures of movies or videos sa mga estudyante, we also invite them to go to a zoo or oceanarium. So last one is independent learning. So when the students, when you think that students can do it alone, imo na siyang ihatag. Give them the chance to discover and explore things on their own, because in here, students can develop the desire and ability to think on their own. Okay? Kay ato ni ihatag nga method because in the real world, nag-inusara jud ka. Okay, ikay mangita og trabaho, ikay mohimog imong kaugalingong lesson plan, ikaw ra usa mo teach. That's why atuan mo ikay mo perform sa certain nga task. That's why mo develop mo muhatag sa adtaning ingani nga teaching method, independent learning. So duha ka book ang ma-develop an independent thinking and critical thinking. So that means you're able to convince yourself and others that the information being presented is true or reasonable based on your research. Next, critical thinking, that is a process to collect and process information to arrive at logical conclusions. So you conduct your own investigation or research and you present it to others. So after defining the learning outcomes or objective, choosing the teaching strategy and learning experiences, it's time for us to select materials, equipment, or technology appropriate to our learners. We can use, in mathematics, we can use teaching aids, manipulatives, we call this one as manipulatives. Mo bitaw nang padadun ta og clock sa pagbata nato sa math subject, padadun tag clock to teach, for us to learn telling time and how to tell time and understand the concept of time. You can also use display board, mga charts. You can also use fun games, materials. You can also use videos saved in your flash drive, saved in your CD, or saved in your computer or from the internet. Color wheels, study cards, flashcards, or you can use many other materials in learning. The fifth part of systematized instruction is the assigning roles. So in here, the tasks that personnel, students, teachers can perform and the information they can share depend on their roles. So in this part, you will assign students to perform a certain task, or you will invite expert speaker to share their experiences and expertise. Or you can also invite a teacher who can also share with sa iyahang passion and expertise. So muna ka, okay, next meeting, muna atong plano and muna ang inyong task nga i-perform. Then, after assigning the roles, you will need to implement the instruction. So what you plan, you will work it out. And during the implementation of the instruction, you will also need to observe on how the students respond to these activities and to the materials. Giganahan ba sila? Wala ba sila ganahi? Next is, this is a time to evaluate outcomes. You assess if the students able to reach the objectives, and you will measure the success of the students. Do they get 100%, or do they reach the expected standard performance, passing score? Yeah, you can also rate the experience. You can also allow your students to evaluate you as a teacher. So based on the evaluation, you will use it to refine the entire process. So no matter what we do in preparing or implementing bisag unsaon na to, although we do our best, and we can always there are times that we still fail. Okay, dako kay tag preparation, nindot atong pag-execute, pag-implement sa lesson, pero we cannot expect na perfect siya. We also have failures, mistakes. Don't let them define you. Don't let your mistakes, failures, imuhang mga imperfections define you. Instead, let them refine you. Okay? So thank you so much. So that is the part 1 of our lesson. So let's move to the last, or the part 2 of our lesson. So last time, to review, in the systematic approach to teaching, we define the objectives, choose appropriate methods, choose appropriate learning outcomes, choose the materials and technologies, assign roles, implement the instruction, evaluate the outcomes, refine the process, and ultimately refine everything. So today we will focus on, we have discussed the different teaching methods. Here we will discuss the different learning experiences we can do in our classroom. So let's start with 4 picks in 1 word. So, unsa man yung ma-describe ani? What word? Okay, so here is a clue.
Cone, ma'am.
Very good.
Cone, ma'am.
Very good. Thank you.
Cone.
Cone. So in a cone, we see that, thank you so much. So in a cone, we see that the base is also important. Okay. Just like the pyramid, dapat natay good foundation of learning, or the base should be, so the structure of learning is like a cone wherein it is supported with the good foundation. So today we will discuss the cone of experience by Edgar Dale. According to him, the cone of experience, the bottom part of learning sa cone should start with this. Okay. So we learn, according to Edgar Dale, we learn through direct purposeful experiences. So what does it mean? We learn from our senses, from sense of touch, taste, and many other hands-on concrete experiences. So you will never know how to play a guitar unless you play the guitar. You will never know how big the crocodile or ang texture siyang skin or ang behavior sa crocodile unless you touch it. Okay? You will never appreciate the animals or the world unless you experience it yourself. As they say, experience is the best teacher. So, muni ang pinaka-fundamental or pinaka-basic skill or foundation sa learning. Ang mga concrete hands-on experiences. That's why in the classroom, sometimes we will bring realia. Ang sabi ng realia, these are real things. Okay, so that's why ang teacher magdala og usahay, magda og real apples. Okay. Unya kay usahay, di man ta pwede magda og real things inside the classroom. Kung si teacher magtaga-adlaw magdag apple, tinuod nga apple, mahurot iyang kwarta. That's why magda na sad siya plastic na apple. Okay, nabitaw na sa to ang mga lamisa usahay na instead nga magpalit og tinuod nga apple, magdana lang kanang plastic nga apple. So, same with kanang mga animals, di man ta pwede magda sa atong classroom og bitin, tinuod nga butin, buhi nga bitin mo na magdatag kanang kuan na gi-preserve na nga bitin. Okay, mga bukog, preserve nga bukog. Or di man sad ta pwede nga ipakita nato ang ato ang heart or ang brain. Amo na ta class. This is today we will discuss about the body part, one of the important body part, which is the heart. Ako sa ablihan, ako ang kasing-kasing klasa, hiwaon sa anako, then guniti, kay para inyong masabtan, di man na pwede. That's why, or di po na pwede nga mo na tag class. Our discussion is about the 9 planets of the solar system. Today, we will go to planet Mars, or Mercury, or Neptune, or Pluto. That's why, dili ta pwede ana. That's why, mumove tag contrived experiences. So when we say contrived experiences, these are edited copies of reality. So examples ano niya, mga models, mga mock-ups, mga skeleton, kani napud tayo nga sample, a miniature. Okay. So kani gamit ni siya instead studying about the real body, labi na kanang mga bag-o pa nga klase. So kani atong gamiton. Next, we can also use dramatized experiences. Okay, role-playing, pantomime, watching a movie. So we give specific roles sa mga estudyante. So you can use mga puppet shows, stick puppets, finger puppets, rod puppets, string puppets. Another one We also have demonstrations. We can use demonstration here. For example, in a science class or chemistry class, the teacher demonstrates how to perform laboratory tasks. In the PE class, the teacher demonstrates how to perform a certain skill. Another one is going to other places, like we call this one as study trips, educational trips, or field trips. According to Buddha, we need to go to at least one place we have never been. So yun sa Bisaya, kinahanglan tang mo laag sa lugar nga wa pa nato naadtuan bisag tagsa sa usa ka tuig. Ingnan ninyo yung mama ana. Joke. Because we learn new things, appreciate the world when we go there. So if it's not possible for us to go to the museum or to the zoo or oceanarium, we can also conduct exhibits. Okay. Another one, we can have television and motion pictures. Okay, you can use download videos and have a film showing. And kani siya mo siya gitawag nga motion pictures. Kani siya gamit ani niya makita ang kuan kanang ang movement and positioning sa every body part. We can also use the charts to improve the imagination and visualization skills of the students, recordings and radio to improve the listening skills and speaking skills of the students. And we go to a more abstract skill, visual symbols. This is the use of maps, charts, graphics, comics. And finally, we can use the verbal symbols. This is the use of words, numbers, paragraphs. So, mabitaw na ang mga bata, tagaan na to og mga toys nga ilang magunitan. Until tagaan na to silag mga pictures. Tagaan na to silag libro nga puno og pictures. Kaya di pa man sila capable mo basa until hinay-hinayon na to ang tudlo og reading. So until ang libro sa ma-compare niyo ang libro sa elementary, daghan og pictures. Then magka-move sa elementary, high school niya, nag-abot sa college ana, puros na lang words because students in the college are matured to comprehend abstract concepts. So to end our class, I'd like to leave you with a quote. Life is a journey with problems to solve, lessons to learn, but most of all, experiences to enjoy. I hope you learn from our class today, and thank you so much for attending.